Disorganized attachment is a combination of an anxious pull and an avoidant push attachment style. So it comes from parents who could not be counted on and or were occasionally abusive. And the child wants that connection to their parent, but they can't count on it. And it might be unsafe if they get it. As they grow into an adult, they feel very conflicted about love. And they can't count on it, and it's very scary. People with disorganized attachment are push/pull. They're a combination of push and pull toward other people, and this means it basically equals hard to predict. So people with disorganized attachment struggle to open up. Sometimes they act out. They can go towards unsuitable partners. They have trust issues. They can be demanding. They can struggle to regulate emotions. They have very inconsistent behavior. And securely attached people are predictable and stable, but disorganized attached people are someone who it feels like the ground is moving all the time for them and for other people. Disorganized attached can still have healthy relationships, but they need to get therapy and help to work through the things that wounded them so badly. And then they can begin to have some stability in their life. The relationship with who they're dating can't be the only thing that provides that stability. It's too much of a burden for the other person. So first, get help. If you have disorganized attachment, first get help. And second, first would be learning about it. And that's part of getting help. And then second would be have awareness and insight that if you have disorganized attachment, you will have a push/a-pull desire, like a push and pull desire. In dating, they'll say, I really, really want that other person. And then they'll say, now that I've got that other person, I don't want it anymore. I don't want them anymore. I'm going to push them away. And as the disorganized attachment person begins to have professional help and begins to get insight and awareness, they begin to become more stable and secure, and dating becomes easier. If they don't do any work and don't get any awareness, they will bounce from relationship to relationship and often create the same issue that made them disorganized attachment in the first place. Meaning they become the parent, they can become the parent to a child who they neglect or abandon or abuse their child. So this is where it takes a lot of responsibility on the person who has disorganized attachment to recognize and work through some of the wounds that they have received from their growing up, so that they don't affect the next generation of people, or their own children, or their own partner. So first, if you have disorganized attachment, I'm so sorry that this happened, and it came from a place of woundedness that the child never asked for. And by the way, all this I'm saying is from a video, which I will link, but I just took notes on that video, and I'm definitely someone who has disorganized attachment from childhood wounds. But continuing, second, now that you know you have disorganized attachment, or even if you think you might, or if you know someone who does, what can you do? As you start to do the work, you can know that dating will get easier. And if you're in the thick of things and you look back at your dating history and you realize that it's a disorganized attachment pattern, know the first step is to get some help. If you're in a healthy relationship, if you're in a relationship with a disorganized attachment person and you realize that's not my style, but it's their style, then have a conversation about how can we get more security. And it could be through couples therapy, but this other person that you're dating, they also need to do their own work on what led them to that disorganized attachment. Things like trauma work and working through those wounds. And this is not easy. It's not an easy relational pairing, being someone with disorganized attachment or dating someone who has disorganized attachment, because there's a lot of woundedness and struggle. And this disorganized attachment person did not see a healthy relationship, did not have a healthy relationship with their parents, so they don't know what to replicate. They know what they don't want, but they don't know what to replicate. They haven't actually seen what it looks like to have, or feels like, to have that love, security, and nurture. And sometimes securely attached people will try to rescue disorganized attachment people in a dating relationship. But if the disorganized attachment person refuses to do the work, or doesn't know that they need to do the work, then chaos happens, and the securely attached person can get hurt. And the disorganized attachment person moves on because they're used to the chaos, like it's part of the pattern, so they recognize it and then they can just move on easily, whereas the securely attached person, they can get hurt from that. And having disorganized attachment doesn't make you a bad person. It shows you're very resilient because you made it this far. In a couple with one disorganized attachment and one securely attached person, the goal is to establish what are our values relationally. What are the things we know to be true, and how do we hold ourselves to them with accountability? The disorganized person is going to bounce up and down like that, and the secure person just wants stability. The disorganized attachment person wants stability too, they just don't know how to get it. Therapeutically, the goal is to work through some of those traumatic experiences, develop a greater sense of self and resilience, and help you to be more stable. Instead of swinging wildly from up to down or becoming invested to leaning out of the relationship, what happens is there's still those peaks and valleys, but they're less frequent or they're not so intense. They're just stable, and that's how we have a lasting relationship. So if you or one of your partners or someone you know is disorganized attached, sometimes people label other people disorganized attachment and then just throw them into a place where it's like they're not fit for love, not fit for a relationship. But that's not true at all. Some of those beliefs are why we keep perpetuating the pattern that's really unhealthy in relationships, where we just label someone and feel like that's a good enough way to deal with it, because if I've labeled you, that's enough. If disorganized attachment is something you have, it doesn't mean you can't have relationships, but it is something you need to work through. So